this is indeed a great opportunity for us to learn how Motorola Solutions has expanded and grown its operations in India and in other emerging markets. We would like to understand your India as a country faces enormous inefficiencies in terms of managing its supply chain for perishables. So estimates tell us that there is about 40% wastage from the farm gate to the plate, that is until it reaches the consumer. So is there anything that you could offer which could make the supply chain efficient and deliver the kind of throughput that we are looking for with organized retail in perishables?
Is not necessarily confined to India. As we do business around the world, we see wastage, if you will, spoilage of perishables amounting to billions of dollars of losses across industry. And not only is it financial losses, but oftentimes it can lead to sickness, and in extreme cases it can lead to death if produce, if meats are spoiled at the time of sale and somebody is to go home and eat that product. So it's a major problem faced around the world, and in fact we do offer solutions in conjunction with partners that bring to bear software systems that come together with our hardware. But both barcode scanning as well as radio frequency identification are being deployed literally at the point of where the produce is picked in the fields, so that when it's picked, it can be time-stamped and it can be tracked from point of origin to ultimate point of destination, so we know the amount of time that it's been in transit. We can also track the temperature profile that produce has seen. And so at the end of the day, with predictive analytics, we can determine when it reaches the back door of the store, is it still good? Is it still good for sale? Is it still good for human consumption? And this can have a tremendous impact on both eliminating waste, spoilage, and improving health of the population.
Technology has answers and can solve problems, but there are other macro items that are difficult to address. The Chicago Council on Global Affairs has studied food insecurity at great length, and there's a book, a white paper that was just put out this summer that gets to the issue about perishables lost on the way to the consumer. The cost, I would say, as an Indian originally, in India is much bigger because of the poverty here. What we have seen is developing countries that have invested in logistics, in infrastructure, such that local and farther away produce is efficiently transitioned to local markets, reduces the shrinkage. Technology assists in that, but the challenge to the private and the public sector here would be high time that the country steps up, drives the logistics investments that are required in infrastructure, so that more people get perishable goods in the health and in the condition that it should be consumed.
How did you evolve to become category leaders in providing visibility to your clients in terms of their assets, their people, data capture and mobility?
You know, we have a few pillars to our foundation. One is we are very specific on domain. We go and learn industries, be it retail, be it transportation, be it manufacturing or public safety. So our engineers or innovators spend time in the customer environment, not pushing technology, but trying to understand the business processes and what the mobile workers are trying to do. So that is the foundation of what Motorola does. With an 85-year-old history of innovating, you know, the saying internally is, Neil Armstrong, we knew how to put the man on the moon, but for the man on the moon to talk back to Earth, NASA came to Motorola, and Neil Armstrong spoke over Motorola radio. And that's essentially the DNA of Motorola. We look at business processes, we understand the customer's environment, and we back into the best way we can push the technology boundaries to adapt to a customer's operations. Anything you'd like to add, Bob?
I'll just say in terms of historically how we've grown the business over time, the enterprise piece of Motorola started with barcode scanning technology. And again, back to Girish's point, it was about how to improve business process. In this case, it was at the point of sale at a retail, how to move people through lines faster, how to capture inventory in real time. And so we started with barcode scanning technology, and over time, as we were connecting barcode scanners to POS terminals, it became obvious that we could improve inventory operations out on the floor as well. So we evolved from discrete barcode scanners connected to cash registers to creating mobile computers with integrated barcode scanners, so that same advantage, that same productivity could be extended out onto the store floor. And in the early days, that was done in a batch environment. Someone would work a full shift and go in the back room and connect up to a computer and upload that information. And it became very obvious very quickly that if that task could be done in real time vis-a-vis radio technology, it would be even that much more productive. And so we migrated from barcode scanning into mobile computing, into real-time mobile computing, vis-a-vis the creation of wireless local area networks. And it's a little bit of the history in terms of how we've gotten to where we are today.
Thank you for that insight. So moving on, how do we understand the differences in the India market? If we were to look at the retail space, how do we understand the differences in terms of requirements for visibility relating to assets, people, and data capture? If you were to juxtapose the opportunity in India with the opportunity in the West.
There are common worldwide, and Bob and I will share some of those with you. On-time available inventory in a retail store is as much a requirement in Nagpur or Indore or Bangalore or Bombay as it is in Beijing or London or New York. So that's the basic of retailing. If you have a retail store, you want to have goods on the shelf, items on the shelf that caters to your local customer base. And what we enable is visibility and movement of those assets. And that's the main thesis of what we deliver to our retail customers. Why don't we get some input from Bob on more color on that, and then I'll come back and tell you the nuances that we are seeing in India that are very specific to India.
At the crux of retail is ensuring that you have the merchandise that an individual is looking for, right place, right time. To do that and do that appropriately, one needs to know what's on the shelf, what's in the back room, what's further back in the logistics supply chain. And we provide the technology that enables that visibility to occur so that customers are satisfied when they come into the store and they become loyal to that particular retail shop, and in turn that helps drive top and bottom line.
Let me share two nuances that we are seeing in India, and we don't have all the answers, Dr. Raghunath, and that's why coming to the Indian Institute of Management Bangalore, talking to you or engaging the gentleman, K. Subramanian, who heads our India operations, who's an IIM Bangalore alumni, is very enriching. So two examples would be, in the West, most cases, reducing labor rates and moving labor out is an accepted return on investment. In India, because of the social construct, reducing labor is not always a positive outcome for the retailer who's serving the community. And we don't have the best answers on that. And we need to understand the nuances here. Although we serve all the retailers here, how do we improvise while we still keep the employment up? The second nuance is what we have seen in other parts of the world, demographically, either the mother or the father, one of them, are the primary buyers in retail. In India, what we have seen is couples going to a grocery store or couples going to shopping before Diwali or Eid or Christmas and jointly making decision on buying is a cultural nuance that we try to understand. If I look at my parents, I never remember my mom going shopping by herself, either for saris or for grocery. So how does the social construct where a couple goes together and makes small decisions on grocery buying or larger home buying and how should retailers appeal to it, and how should our technologies that help retailers bring goods to the shelf or helps in decision making for customers to buy, how should those be catered with kiosks, with customer facing solutions, I think is an area of innovation that we are investing here locally to develop on software platforms, on sensor platforms that sit in our technology base. So that's, I think, a good healthy combination of bring the best that we have learned in other parts of the world, West, but then innovate locally through K. Subramaniam's team so that we can cater to our customers locally.
If I may ask, what role do you see going forward for the India subsidiary of Motorola Solutions? And how important is that role vis-a-vis other subsidiaries that you have?
Dr. Raghunath, it's a competitive world. We have design centers in Eastern Europe and China and other places. That said, the India Design Center is the only design center in the world where the major business units that we have, all of them sit under one roof. We do data capture, barcode scanning, radio frequency identification. We do mobile computing for mobile workers in different industries. We do wireless local area networking. And then we have targeted software, application software. So as I said, the India Design Center is the only design center in the world where all those capabilities and development teams sit under one roof. So what we are seeing is the osmosis of these teams working together are creating new propositions that we don't see from other design centers because of the construct of it. And from that standpoint, it's very strategic. Our design center in India has grown incrementally over the last 15 years or so. We have added capabilities. We have expanded local partnerships here with companies like Texas Instruments and Qualcomm and Intel and Microsoft and others. We have customers like Tesco who have local development teams. We have partners like SAP who are sitting in this ecosystem in the Bangalore area. So to get that chemistry in other parts of the world is very difficult. So to have all our business units in one roof, to have these ecosystem partners literally across the street, to have customers development teams locally, it drives a chemistry that is very unique, that is very exciting. And we are very proud of our employees here in Bangalore. We have some of the lowest attrition rates in the local market. They're very innovative. The reason we are here this time of the year, which we come every year, it's a pilgrimage, Dr. Raghunath, is our local team under the leadership of K. Subramaniam holds a 2-day event where they show innovation items that they have created without any direction. So this is teams themselves coming up with ideas, not looking for any external funding, and coming up this time with 40 different ideas that we get to see, demos, solutions, and many of those make it into mainstream products. So as competitive as global design centers are, and the team in India will have to step up and deliver and be more productive, this chemistry is the uniqueness that draws people like myself and my colleague Bob Sanders who are here with a dozen other people this time of the year.
So how do you see the complementarity of the Indian subsidiary vis-a-vis other subsidiaries that you have in your group, and how do you see their role going forward?
There's a high degree of complementarity because the team in India, by definition, has to work across the globe with their counterparts in New York, in San Jose, in other parts of the world. They have to have the same design tools and capabilities. They need to speak the same language. So there's a tremendous amount of complementarity. In terms of how I see things transitioning in the future, I see our Indian subsidiary taking on more of an end-to-end holistic approach. I see them driving more of our designs from start to finish, as opposed to today where there can be a handoff, if you will, something is started in one part of the world and it might be finished in this part of the world. I think there's benefit and I think there's leverage to be gained by virtue of the maturity of this team that now understands not only the technology but how our products are used in market, and they have the capability therefore to take that product literally from concept all the way through execution.
Motorola Solutions takes pride in saying that it does things differently, radically differently. Could you give us a few examples of how we do that?
Sure. As opposed to creating technology and for technology's sake often and then trying to force fit a place for that technology out in the world. So we play in vertical markets. We literally walk a day or a year or sometimes a decade in the shoes of our customers to understand what are their business processes, where are the pain points in those business processes, how can we help, how can we take friction out of the system. And then we go back and we talk to our technologists about the problem to be solved, and we hopefully create unique solutions that bring real utility to that problem at the end of the day.
Give you a couple examples. Wearable computing is a hot trend that's being talked about. Motorola Solutions came out with the first mobile computer in the wearable category in the 93 to 1995 timeframe. We worked with UPS and then with Federal Express. And what we have is a laser scanner that scans barcodes on an index finger, on a ring finger, with a wearable computer with a lithium-ion battery, a display, wireless keypad that that increased productivity by about 2x in the operations. And that's one of our most successful products. Since then we have launched a head-mounted computer. So it goes back to what we said, Bob and I said earlier. Rarely will you come across companies where from the executive ranks to the design team, to the sales team, to the technical engineers, you will find us most days walking warehouses, walking airport tarmacs, walking retail stores, walking shop floors, with our customers, trying to understand what they're trying to do, and then going back into a concept like wearable computing that MIT Media Lab was dreaming about in the early 90s. And we monetized that offering and delivered return on investment and benefits to customers like I mentioned, UPS and Federal Express, and other customers in Asia as well. So those are some examples.
It is great to hear that your folks walk tarmacs, warehouses, shop floors and figure out what the customers want. But in very large corporations, when these teams come in with these ideas and they propose innovative solutions, more often than not they hit the winds of resistance from the overall structure, hierarchy, bureaucracy which surrounds them. So how do you break through this inevitable structure and process which might slow down innovations and new products?
It's a struggle in Motorola, and it's a struggle I think in every large successful company. There are 1,000 lights of ideas and you can fund only a finite amount in a given year. So I'll start off by saying greatly acknowledge that, and it's a challenge. We have a very mature portfolio management process where we invest in our core markets, we invest in adjacent markets, and then we invest in incubation. And when the year is coming to a close like it is now, we look at the year that has just gone past and the next year, and we look at what we did right and what we missed. So there are processes that manage it. Processes go only so far. What we do is we spend again a lot of time with our innovation teams, and we do give some empowerment to our local teams to take nascent ideas and develop them further. There is a very compelling local idea being developed over the last 12 months that we unveiled yesterday, which changes the game of mobility. And that was an idea, the genesis of it came in through the offices and cubicles within Motorola as we looked at business operations. And all we funded was a very modest amount a year ago, less than $200,000. Most of the programs are multi-million dollars. And what we are seeing is this very early idea now has taken shape. And that's one way of addressing and letting grassroots ideas foster, take shape, before stepping on it and killing it. But Dr. Raghunath, it's a struggle, it's a challenge on a daily basis. And decisions cannot be made in ivory towers. They have to be made around where innovation teams work.
You know, at the end of the day, it's trying to act small even within a big environment. And again, I think he hit the key points. There's a lot of opportunities that crop up. We couldn't possibly fund them all, but the ones that seem to be the most appealing, it's sometimes a function of spreading a small amount of money to progress the idea a little bit further, nurture it, test it in market, see if there's as much resonance when we actually have something to put in front of a customer as a prototype as there was seemingly at the PowerPoint level, and then deciding from there. But to Girish's point, it's tough. It's particularly if it's a concept that is foreign, you know, to the current way of current business, if you will. Corporate antibodies want to come out, and oftentimes they want to kill that idea off. So it is a constant struggle, but I think doing it right is what separates really those that succeed from those that don't.
Will we in India see 4G-enabled ambulances and cops, and what do you think about the hurdles which might stop us from getting there?
Indian public safety agencies will, in the near future, have the latest 4G broadband-enabled technology tools, especially looking at what happened in Bombay, the tragic terror attacks a few years ago. And imagine if the public safety agencies there had broadband communications, where voice, data, video, multimedia were shared. Now, worldwide regulatory bodies are looking at how to make broadband available in a ubiquitous way, so that it is distributed and it is available for public safety agencies. A nuance there is there should be special access, special frequencies, special channels of broadband for public safety agencies, because at a time of crisis, public networks get burdened with consumers calling in. The technology is there today. Mobility, head-mounted display, dispatch systems, command centers, customers, public safety agencies using tablets to look at premises internally, externally. The systems capability is where Motorola comes in. We take the bandwidth that's available and we deploy mobility tools that take the best in the dispatch center and make that multimedia experience available for police, for fire, and for ambulance services, and ensuring that there is interoperability amongst those. So we have to be optimistic that our public safety agencies in India and other parts of the world will have these highly required technology solutions that are available today deployed in due course. We are very pleased to be here. Indian Institute of Management Bangalore is the top school in India, but also in the world. So it's a privilege to be here, and thank you very much for your kindness to invite us.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mr. Girish and Mr. Sanders, for your time and your excellent insights.